Hi, welcome back. Let's talk about forced minimalism. If you're just coming here for the first time, please like, subscribe, share the video. And if you would like some discounts on Tesla products, there is a link in the description, and it doesn't mean just cars. Tesla also sells solar, Powerwalls, and Starlink, which is their internet service provider, and you can actually mount your Starlink in your car and have access to the internet anywhere in the world. Anyway, let's talk about forced minimalism. Now, before we start talking about politics, I hate politics. Let's get that straight. This video is not an endorsement of the current president, and it's certainly not an endorsement of any any politician. But we are currently going into forced minimalism. What that means is, yesterday, China, as we know, are playing games with us. They're playing games with our economy. They've been doing it forever. And yesterday, or the day before, they started saying that they were going to take away our rare earth minerals, which predominantly they're talking about magnets. And they're also talking about restricting the chips that come in from other countries, which is a direct attack on NVIDIA, because NVIDIA now are going to be doing a lot of their manufacturing in the United States, and blah, 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 blah. There's this war going on. So the Trump administration responds by saying, we are going to, on November 1st, put a 100% tariff on every single thing coming into the United States from China, which is a lot of stuff. And the reason we get a lot of stuff from China is simply the fact that we are addicted to their stuff. Now, that suited us fine when they were making cheap stuff and we could buy a $20 toaster or a $10 t-shirt or a $500 treadmill for our house or whatever it was. Cheap, 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 cheap. We knew it was Chinese quality. We knew it was garbage. But if you got a couple of years out of it and you could throw it away, that was fine. We were cool with that. But then we got addicted to it. And the other thing that happened is China got much better at making their products better, and they're still using cheap, essentially slave labor to do it. And when you add into that the automation that's coming and the robotics that's coming, there's two things at play here. We don't need China, although we are behind right now, and China can now make really good stuff cheaper than the cheap stuff they were making. And if they flood our country with that, we are in deep trouble. Now, it's easy for people to say that we are a consumer-driven economy. We are. The problem was, that was fine when we were buying American products that were made in America, and American employees were benefiting from that. But now we're still addicted to consumerism, and all that money is going to other countries. Now, the Trump administration have done a lot so far to stop the inflow of some of those products. Well, let's talk about cars for a second. Since I talked mostly about Tesla, the Trump administration with the tariffs on automobiles and, excuse me, basically preventing the Chinese government from selling their EVs here is certainly a big step. You need to understand, if you could buy an electric vehicle here that's a Chinese brand, you would be able to pay about $10,000 for that EV, and it would be a perfectly good car. Sounds great as a consumer, right? Of course it does. Problem is, it would destroy our economy. Absolutely destroy it. There would be no Chevy, there would be no Ford, there would be no Tesla, which, whether you like Tesla or not, it's an enormous American company. It employs thousands and thousands of Americans. So you don't want China coming in, taking out Elon Musk. And nobody knows this better than Elon Musk. And he still is in the ear of the President of the United States and the government. The government are listening to Musk. They're listening to Bezos. They're listening to, what's his name? Jensen Huang of NVIDIA. And they're listening to Mark Zuckerberg because they know. These guys know what China is trying to do. So you will not. And honestly, I need you to understand something. Up front, this move, if it goes through, will crush the American economy. But it will be temporary. you will not have access to all the stuff that you once had. And you certainly will not have access to it at a cheap price. But there's one thing I learned from being poor, and this is why people who are poor have a big advantage when the economy goes bad. You realize that if you can't afford something, most of the time, you don't actually need it. So all that crap that you think you need from China, you don't need. So consequently, anything you will need and you will be able to purchase and able to afford will be coming from the United States. It will be built by a company in the United States, and when you purchase that, you will be funding the United States and your neighbor. And it's very important that you understand that. So, will there be some suffering for a while? Of course there will. But you know what? If you don't suffer, you can't appreciate the good times. You know, it's raining today, right? Most people hate rain. I'm not a big fan of it myself. But if we didn't have rainy days, how would we ever enjoy sunshine? So, like I said before, this is not an endorsement of the Trump administration, and please don't comment that that's what I'm doing. You know, it's so frustrating these days that if a president or any politician does something good and you tell people that you think it's a good idea, they automatically label you as either left-wing or right-wing. And frankly, when somebody does that to you or to me, all they're doing is they're showing how ignorant they actually are. You know, the simple common sense approach to life is you can learn something from everybody. People who vehemently disagree with everything that you think or you believe or you do, if you listen very carefully to them, you will learn something. Everybody has something to offer. So anyway, forced minimalism is here, and it may be here to stay for a while, unless, of course, President Xi and Trump get out of their own ego and come to an agreement, which frankly is probably the most likely thing to happen. Anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate you being here.